Just waiting for the phone on the Whatnot to boot up, and then we will get going on everything. I'm gonna actually make this a public stream, so hold on one second. I'm still here. I'm still here. If you can see me, if you can hear me, here we go. Okay, so it's taken just a second to get the Whatnot software synchronized, and that's okay. Gives us just a little bit of a chance to catch up and say hi to one another. And let me do this. Hope everybody's having a really good week this week. I think that's all, folks. Just going through my pre-show checklist. And okay, so I know that you guys have loved the shipping videos, and those will continue to come every other week on Whatnot. I host the Ship Show, which is one of the most popular seller support shows on the platform. And this is a fun part of it because you get to see what happens even before you start using Whatnot. But you are going to want to use the link in the description box to sign up. So that way you'll get your $15 to start shopping. If you plan to sell on Whatnot, use the seller sign up link. But it doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to get a little something special. So let me pull up Whatnot, and we should be right on track here. And I may have to switch power sources just because this one seems a little iffy. We need to get this all juiced up. Okay, good. So I'll put this one off to the side here. How about that? Don't you love this? All these devices, they all have their own cords and everything. Hold on one second. I'm going to give you some juice. Okay, there we go. Yes, this is really how shows actually get started. You're getting behind the scenes access, but we are going to be live here in less than 10 seconds. So the thing I love about Whatnot is how fast and easy it is to go live. We are coming here. Shows. Oh, there we go. Okay, fantastic. Oh, good. Lots of people have been waiting. I apologize for the delay. Let's get in there. We're gonna start the show. Go live. Welcome in, everybody. So we're gonna start our giveaway right now. Apologize, it's taken just a second to get things up and running, but it looks like the technology is working out really well. And let's take a look. We are going to go to I'm going to turn this around in 1 second. 1 second, you will actually get a live view. If you've been watching on YouTube, you've seen the last 2 or 3 minutes. And we're going to run a giveaway, so make sure you get in on that. And let's flip the camera around and see how we look today. How do we look? You're looking really good. Okay, so who do I see? I see a lot of familiar names. And now you can see me. So if there is a lag in the video, let's give it a second to kind of synchronize. And then if it's still happening, I'll refresh it. But I know that you guys love the shipping videos that have been coming out on YouTube. And I'm so glad that they've been helping a lot of people. The one that I uploaded last October is almost at 6,000 views as of this morning. And that's amazing to me because that one is really geared toward Whatnot sellers. And that means that there are thousands of people who want to be successful on Whatnot and want to make sure that they're getting their shipping settings right. And I also did a Q&A. I did a answer to all the comments. So that edited should be up shortly. My goal is to get it up today, but if not today, by the end of this week. And so that's exciting. So we've got lots of questions coming in. Make sure you get yours in the chat. Another thing I'd love for you to do is start to tag some of your favorite sellers because The Ship Show has always been about a grassroots community. It's spread all over the platform, but it's really never been promoted or advertised. So if you have some sellers who you think would benefit from getting some of this good information, feel free to bring them in. And in fact, if they're a little shy, you're a little shy, you can even go to the Buy It Now and you can send them a printed invite to next show, which will be May 1st. We do this every other week. So I wanted to go through a few things. I will work questions in throughout the show. But last show, we had some sellers win a short video. And those videos, you can see them now on YouTube. So to get those videos, what you do is you just go to YouTube, search Stay Home to Shop, all one word, common spelling. So STAYHOMETOSHOP, just like you see at the top of the screen there. And then there's a playlist that says #1 featured videos. So just go to the bottom of your device and you should see playlists. It's #1 featured videos. There are two sellers who I would love it if we could get tagged in the chat. The first is Chicago Dawn, just like it sounds. Chicago, the city, DAWN. And the other one is Willow Sky. And that is WILLOWSKYE. It ends with the letter E. And here's something that we're gonna talk a little bit about this, because whether you think you're a business of your own or you're running your own show, the reality is we all have our own brand, and maintaining that brand is what is really important in accelerating your success. And I'm going to tell you, when I searched for Chicago Dawn on Whatnot, she's had 2 shows, and she sells makeup. But when I search for her, Whatnot knows, you got it perfect. Thank you, Southern Deals, with a Z. Southern Deals with a Z. But the reason I'm saying all these is because, it's so easy to get lost on the internet. Has that ever happened to anyone? Has anybody ever just kind of like, I know exactly what I'm looking for, but then I'm getting like sidetracked? If I search on Whatnot, and Whatnot has its own matching system, as far as I'm aware, they're not using another third party. So they have their own searching criteria. If I search Chicago Dawn, it pulls up makeup shows that are live on the platform right now, even if she's not selling anything. And since she's only had 2 shows, that shows me that the platform is really smart. The algorithm is figuring out who really wants to see this type of show and who's likely to make a purchase. So if it's able to match, prospective makeup buyers to Chicago Dawn's profile and then pull up similar sellers who are actively selling right now, that's amazing. That is instant success. So if you see new people come in your room, I would not assume that it's by accident or by chance. I would imagine that there's something that the algorithm has picked up on, and that has everything to do with your brand. So we're going to go back to that. Has anybody been able to find the YouTube videos? The way you do that is go to YouTube, search Stay Home to Shop, one word, spelled exactly the way you see it up top. And then you'll go to the playlist and it'll be #1 favorite. And Jesse, you are so welcome. You'll get a giveaway item in the mail. So if anybody's been able to do that, you're able to watch Chicago Dawn, and they're short. They're 30 seconds. And you'll also see Willow Spring. Now they were very smart as how they used their videos, because they won it as a giveaway. So they were really, really smart. Chicago Dawn used it just to kind of like establish herself, and Willow Sky used it to rebrand, because she's basically expanding her business. It was her doing everything, and now she's brought in family members who are going to be helping her out. So she used that as a way to launch her new brand. And I've noticed in a very short period, she's already picking up followers. She's got sales. Chicago Dawn on her first weekend had more than 100 sales. And these are folks who, again, not a lot of people have seen before, or obviously purchased if they're newer sellers. So Whatnot is a very powerful marketing engine if we know how to use the uh, algorithm, helpfully. I hope some of this makes sense. There really isn't a guidebook on how to build a brand on Whatnot, other than let's make sure we follow Whatnot's brand guidelines if you're going to be using any of their marketing or advertising trademarks. Okay, so the other side of growing a brand or starting a brand is your brand can die. And I don't want that to happen. We might have a few funerals before the end of the show. But I'm going to give you the 4 signs if your brand is dead. And these are things to pay attention to. So, are there a lot fewer viewers than bookmarks on your show? That can be a sign. Have your shows stopped being recommended to new buyers? The way I would look for that is to see if I'm noticing new names. I'm seeing a lot of new names in this show, so that's a good sign. The third one is, are none of your items selling from the buy it now or your fixed price marketplace listings? So when you're not live, are any of your products selling? And did your last 5 to 10 shows bring in less money than you need to survive? You do not have to answer yes or no in the chat. That is just a checklist for you. You will be able to eventually see this on YouTube, but I'll give you a shortcut toward the end of the show if you want to replay this. And if you're finding that more and more of these are coming true, that might be the opportunity for you, because you're not alone. Multi-billion-dollar companies have vaporized, and lots of retail stores have closed because they couldn't compete with e-commerce. Now, I want to actually take a little bit of a survey. If you'll just type in the chat some iconic brands that you grew up with that are no longer around, I would love to see the list. I picked 3, but I'm sure you guys have better examples. So what are some brands that you thought would just always be there and they're not anymore? Because all those companies spent millions, even billions of dollars marketing themselves, their warehouses, all of the above. So what's a brand that no longer exists that you would have wanted to? Maybe if you were going shopping in the mall today, or if you wanted to order from a catalog even. A lot of catalogs have gone out of business. But type that in the chat. Okay, so Southern Deals, Guess, ? Express, ? I know Guess had a question mark. I don't know if Express did, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, Express. Sometimes people don't realize that these companies aren't around anymore, because what will happen is somebody will buy up their logo and keep using it, or they'll switch to an online only and they'll close all their physical locations. But yeah, those are definitely brands that you used to expect to see in some of the better malls, higher end malls. And if you go there, it's a lot of vacant storefronts. So, and that's a little weird. Has anybody done that? Like, you walk into a mall and you expect to see a store because it's always been there, but then it's like, wait, when did that disappear? Like, am I imagining it? Like, there was there was a store here. I knew it was there. I shopped at it, but where is it? And PacSun is another one. And that's Fab Jody Fines. Yes, PacSun. Is Aeropostale, is that another one? Because we're talking about fashion brands. I'll tell you the ones that I thought of right away. Bed Bath & Beyond. They used to be the industry standard when it came to home goods, furnishings, housewares. They used to be the company that everybody was measured against, was Bed Bath & Beyond, and they're no longer around. The other is Pier 1 Imports and Kmart. Kmart in the 1990s was bigger than Target and Walmart are today. They had stores everywhere. Toys R Us, yeah. And actually Toys R Us, yeah, because even the companies, okay, so what'll happen is when a company goes through bankruptcy, the only thing left is their logo. So somebody will buy that and then they can kind of relabel things. But have you seen like the in-store setups? I know I've seen some videos where they've done it inside, I think Macy's, possibly Kohl's for Toys R Us. Has anybody seen like that setup either in person or on a video? You could find it very easily on YouTube if you just search for Toys R Us, Christmas 2024. It's a very different atmosphere than the big stores were. It used to be like kind of like this, playground with no limit, and now it's like these, kind of these merchandising racks that are just stuffed full of boxed product. It's not this. It's not the same thing. It just isn't the same thing. So the good news is, as sad as this is, it does create an opportunity for us because we can provide that once in a lifetime shopping experience that really nobody else on the internet is providing. Not even the big web stores. And so, yeah, so if you miss Toys R Us, there's a reason for that. And it was probably because, you had more ability to test the product, but you had more playfulness that you could, engage in. And so if you find that you are in a dead or dying brand situation, you're still in control. So don't slide down the wrong path for too long. There is a simple, easy solution, but we all want to avoid it. And this is why in business they say, don't take it personal, it's just business, but it is personal because our brands are really a lot about us and those connections that we've made with our buyers and our colleagues along the way. So if you have put a lot of effort to show, hold on one second, I'm skipping a point. Yeah, if you put a lot of effort to show that you're a reliable seller, it does feel like people are giving you a thumbs down if they swipe away. What do people do thumbs down, or what's the emoji when people like are basically kind of dissing you now? And Southern Deal says, you bet it was fun or constantly crazy messy inside of a kid's toy store. Exactly. But they had the operation down so that the aisles didn't get destroyed. They had staff. They had areas designated for kids to like test things out and play with them. But like, okay, so other than thumbs down, what are some emojis? Because I'm trying to keep up with my internet vernacular. And Southern Deals, and you remember, Jody, you remember that was wild during the holidays. Every store you'd go to, and you just knew there were going to be people shopping. You were going to wait in line. It was a totally different experience. And you were kind of limited to what was on the shelf. And now we don't have those limits. So there's really no barrier to success with e-commerce, especially with Whatnot, because it's on the leading edge of, selling directly person to person with very few obstacles in between. I'm just noticing all these alerts, and I'm sorry, I keep touching you. So thumbs down, there's no alternative, like... Okay, well, everybody put a thumbs down in the chat, just so I know you understand what I'm trying to explain. Let's get some thumbs down before I answer. I offer my opinion on anything. All right. Yes, thumbs down. Okay, cool. Okay, well, okay, so going back to that, it feels like people are giving you a thumbs down when they don't buy from you, but there's another way you can approach that, and that is you just haven't given them a reason to swipe right yet. So on the bottom of the screen where it says bid now or buy now, you just haven't given them that reason fast enough. So if you launch a brand new you won't be searching for swipes. And so those two videos that I want you guys to watch on the YouTube channel, they're short, one's 30 seconds, one's 31 seconds. And yeah, so like in less than a minute, you'll see how sellers in their own words are able to kind of define their business and attract customers because it's working. And you don't have to listen to me. You can go on their profiles, so you can see that Chicago Dawn had more than 100 sales in her first weekend selling live, and you can see that Willow Sky SKYE is already attracting followers to her new brand. And so I would tell you that the reason that people swipe is it's natural. So if they're engaged with your shows, if they're enjoying what they're experiencing, it's a natural reaction to just swipe right. I have to like hold myself back a little bit sometimes. And if you guys have your shows scheduled out in advance, make sure that you're sharing those throughout the chat because other sellers want to see what you're doing that's working well for you. I get my best ideas from the chat, and also I have watched so many top sellers who I have gotten tons and tons of ideas from, and everybody's got their own style. So I'm not going to repeat word for word what another seller might, but at least I can kind of come up with my own way to work it into a show if it's working for them. And we can tell when somebody's trying to sell us something as opposed to trying to help us. So that's why if you start with a brand new you get a blank slate, you get a clean canvas, and that's something you can brag about, you can celebrate, and you focus on your best selling points, and that way your brand becomes a powerful growth engine. So if that makes any sense, I hope it does. I think if you watch the videos alongside it, it makes more sense. And there is another video that was from last show that it has a really fun intro. It was done with the Naked Maple. She went out in real time, real life to the post office to try to pull some current pricing. And she had a little bit of difficulty. And I see Art Creations. Hello. Okay. And I see Miss Steve. Fantastic. I'm glad you were able to make it. So do I think that Whatnot is becoming the new eBay? That was asked a little bit up in the chat. No. But that's a really good segue into what I'm about to talk about. The reason I wouldn't say it's the new eBay is because they were built and born in two different centuries. So eBay has always been about text searching and matching keywords. They do have some video capabilities, but not for everyone. So the people who are allowed to do live shows on eBay are very, very few and limited. And it's just not how they get most of their sales. If I had to guess, I would guess less than 1% of what they're selling on any given day is coming from those live shows. They're selling a lot more based on static listings where you have photos and an item description. That has worked. It's working. It's one way to shop. It's probably not the preferred way to shop because it's a little delayed. And a lot of the larger sellers are discovering other platforms, especially Whatnot. Make sure you guys give out your invite codes to anybody who you're familiar with on different sites. If they don't use yours, don't take it personally, but there is a benefit when somebody signs up using a referral code that they don't get if they do it on their own. So you don't want them to miss out on that. And I can't tell you whose code I used because I just used a code that I was able to find. But whoever it was, I thank them. I got approved for my selling privileges within a day. Yes, this was back when they still made you send photos of your inventory and stuff, but it went really smoothly for me. Okay, so I don't think eBay and Whatnot, I don't think one's replacing the other. I think they're just doing different things. So Whatnot is much more about the video connectedness than it is about the product. I think eBay, just opinion, and I've sold on eBay, I still have. an eBay account, you can search for Stay Home to Shop, all one word, on any shopping platform or social media that you want to use. If I'm on there, it's going to be the same, the exact same name. But with eBay, I just feel like they've kind of carved out their space, and it works well enough for a lot of people. But for kind of the emerging consumer, the people who are really starting to spend big, Whatnot is a much more attractive uh, platform. But the other thing about that is we're still in a closed community, because in order to use Whatnot, you have to register first. You have to at least put in some basic information and set up an account. And once upon a time, eBay was that way. So I remember this because the only reason I ever set up an eBay account was I wanted to buy something, and I had to set up a account just to go in and buy it. Now they don't have that rule. They haven't had it for a long time, but Whatnot is still a closed or gated community, so we don't see the entire wild web out there when we're on this platform, which is kind of nice because, you know, we do have community standards. We expect people to play nice, play fair, and for the most part, I think people just instinctively do. But the other side is, for new customers, sometimes it does take a little bit of tickling and teasing to get them onto the platform so they can really experience the live chat that I can't even keep up with because the comments fly so fast. But yeah, so I think there are still going to be many different platforms, and it really depends on what preference the customer has. But yeah, I don't think that one's going to outdo the other anytime soon. I could be totally wrong. Let's rewatch this episode in 6 months. Let's make a date, and we're gonna see how right I was or how wrong I was. I'm just gonna tap myself for that one. And I love that you can tap the screen and burst into the heart. You don't even have to type a thumbs up. That is so funny. Okay, so in building a successful brand, and I did mention, so Stay Home to Shop is the same on all platforms. I want you guys to do me a favor, because I don't want to pick on anybody, but you can volunteer your brand. I type every different way that you could possibly spell Stay Home to Shop in the chat, and I want to make sure that I'm aware of them and I haven't missed any, because when I say Stay Home to Shop, a lot of people instantly start to change it a little bit, and I'm not mad about it because the search algorithms have kept up with this. Just like Chicago Dawn, she's not live right now, but the search engines assume that the people looking for her want to buy makeup. So they're going to put makeup shows in front of those folks. But yeah, if you can, hi Bobby, if you can type in any alternate spelling of Stay Home to Shop, I would love to see how wild it can get. But yeah, so a lot of times people want to do Stay at Home to Shop, or Stay at Home and Shop, things like that to make it more conversational. But I've found a few others, and I'll use those as keywords. And this is an insight. I'll put those in keywords in any of the social media videos that I can, and that way it'll capture those searches. So Southern Deals. Yes, thank you for pointing. Southern Deals suggests Stay Home, the number 2 shop. Yeah, that can be, yes, exactly. And I've identified that one, but I'm going to write it down again just because that was the first one to come in. Does it hurt to have a lot of different categories? Do you want the honest answer, or do you want the nice one? I had not thought about SHOPPE. Yes, it does. It does hurt. And I'm going to tell you why. People, when they see us, they get an instant reaction. They think of us one way. And whatever it is, if I'm holding up a women's sweater and that's the first time somebody sees me, they're going to assume that I sell women's clothing. Um, it's just hard to break away from those, instant responses. However, the way that you can do this is if you're going to have a variety of categories, is to try to organize them. Now, on a site that's mostly text based, so we'll say like an eBay, you can set up different categories if you enroll in their optional services, and actually by default they have their own category sorting. Whatnot is very limited in what it's providing for categories. And if you go into the marketplace, actually, I want to know if it's different for everybody. If you go to the storefront that I have here, I don't have a lot of things, so this should be really easy to figure out. Just tell me the first item that shows up. So what I would do is I would go to the store and then I would go to like the marketplace. I can't shop for myself, not to buy it now, but I'd actually go to the, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I think I'd have to go to like my profile or something, and that should pull it up. So if I went into the profile, then I should be able to see the listings that are available 24/7. And I just want to know what the first item is, because it's really random. And there is a request to have that more systematized. Book number 14. Okay, does anybody see a different result? And this is one way that, we can help each other, because what I see on my device and my screen might not be identical to what you're seeing. And if I'm making a lot of assumptions, again, I could be pointing people in the wrong direction. Book number 14. So if anybody sees anything different than book 14, let me know. But yeah, I don't know why book 14 would be there. I don't think it's the most expensive, the newest, or the oldest. Alphabetically, it wouldn't come first, so it can get a little jumbly, but you can also have fun with that. So another thing is, if you know that it's going to be kind of like number one art print is next under it. Okay, yeah. So, and I don't know why those two are there, because my assumption would be that one art print would be before book 14. The art and the wood, the photography. Well, thank you, Art Creations. And I'm assuming you're selling on the platform. So when is your next show? And the other thing is, I was going to tell you, if you know it's going to be kind of jumbly and chaotic, what you can do is, with your photography, play around with that. Now, you can either do this based on category or season, but use different backgrounds and have fun with it. So since it's not going to be arranged exactly the order we would necessarily choose, just be aware of that. So if I'm selling hardware, maybe I'm going to put all of my like power tools and stuff against a bright orange background. Anybody want to guess why I might do that? Other than the fact that it's just a really nice contrasting color while we run another giveaway. Yeah, there's a big company that sells a lot of hardware and tools, and their color is orange. Well, I'm not using their logo or their trademark, but I might want to use orange. Just again, it's one of those things. Instantly, people will make their own conclusion. If I told you guys, and we are so off script, but it doesn't matter because this is good stuff. If I told you guys to describe a four-legged piece of furniture, what would that be? Type it in the chat. And don't worry, your answer is correct. It'll be interesting to see how many different ones, though. So one thing that I do sell in the craft category, I don't have a lot of this, and these are like the only two pads that I have left. But this can actually serve as a really good background for smaller items. A table would be a four-legged piece of furniture. Okay. Any other guesses or any other thoughts? So this is just these are all very stylized, but I would play around with this. And I have in the past, especially when I've had a lot of the same type of item, but they're a little bit different, like letters of the alphabet. So I would put a different background in front of each letter so that you didn't just see like blah. So you can play around with your photography. You can try to come up with your own organizing system. A lot of people in their shows, and look at how other sellers are doing it. Hello, Naked Maple. Do you want to co-host for a second? So I can put you on the spot. But if you want to do like A001, A002 in your buy it nows and in your auctions, it should hold true to that order. But in the marketplace, oh, okay, so you're not decent. Well, that's exactly what we want to see, right? The Naked Maple, if you guys did not watch the video, it's, what is it called? It's called like alarming or extreme prices at the post office or something like that. It's in the playlist that's #1 featured videos on the Stay Home to Shop YouTube channel. So Stay Home to Shop on YouTube, go to the playlist, #1 featured, it's right there. The intro is hilarious. And that was all natural. That was just pulled from the footage you gave us. So it made you look like a criminal. I know. It like you better be on the low. You need to like have a disguise, like dark glasses and stuff. I guess the wood burning. You do custom signs, correct? Because we were talking about ways that people can identify if their brand is dead or dying, and if that's the case, how to give it some life. Because we've had some sellers on the show very, very recently who've used short videos, and that's gotten them a lot of sales results and followers for people who had 0 before. You rebranded when you came to Whatnot? Exactly. And those videos are actually in the YouTube playlist. Go to Stay Home to Shop on YouTube. The #1 featured videos is the name of the playlist. You can watch the videos. Little snippets were the preview for this show. You do all the things. Fantastic. Do you want to come on and co-host for a second and show us a sample of your work? Because I'm getting to the point where I'm going to make some observations about people who I've found to be successful on this platform, but also on other platforms. They have a name or a brand that is easy to say and remember. Oh, you're painting? Okay. And and the Naked Maple custom designed your logo. Do you take custom orders? Willow Sky, we've been talking about you all show. So if you'd like to come on for a second and give us any of your thoughts or type them out in the chat, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so to have a successful brand, it's got to be easy to say and remember, easy to spell. We tested out Stay Home to Shop, and we found 2 alternates that could easily throw people on the wrong path. And then you have to look for similar sound alikes. And Bobby, you'll get a giveaway item, so congratulations on that. And the last point is to be careful when using Whatnot or any other business trademark. Now, some platforms are more forceful than others about going after people who are using their name or parts of their name. As an example, you're totally on time for what we need. But as an example, like when eBay was really establishing itself, it registered every alternate spelling, sounding, domain, everything. So if you put eBay in anything, it's going to get caught pretty fast, especially if you're doing it for e-commerce. You know, and again, some platforms are more forceful about enforcing those trademarks. Others, not always, but eventually it does come back to you because it's going to come up as a problem when you are successful and that means you're going to have a lot of sales. So you're going to get a lot of attention, and then people are going to say, "Wait a minute, why are you calling yourself whatever, like the Posh Queen or something like that?" Um, I'm picking on Poshmark. I don't sell on Poshmark, but I think they are protective. I could be mistaken. Willow Sky, what has been your experience so far? I saw you've picked up quite a few followers, and you've been able to relaunch your brand with a new logo, and you've been able to introduce it as a family business. So that is all, I think, helping you. But yeah, a lot of us could probably use a little bit of a refresh. Another thing I want to mention is our profiles need to stay updated. And so we've got two different ones. Social media is for everybody in the world, and then Whatnot is for registered users who are really qualified buyers. Qualified buyers, but also colleagues of yours. So it does matter how we maintain our Whatnot profile. And those were the tips I had. Now I want to backtrack a little bit here. When I say updated, okay, so it depends on the platform, but if you have a YouTube page, if you haven't posted a video in more than a month, people assume you're not using it any longer. Now you can always enhance a prior video. You could upscale it, you could edit it, you could do a lot to enhance it, and you could then use that. I forget, I found out the exact timeline, but I would say to be safe, 90 days, anything 90 days or older. So if you had a video from 3 months ago, you could enhance it and then just, show that you've reused it. And I just lost the chat. Name sounds more professional, and now shows you as the seller, not just a buyer. Exactly. And we talked about the SKYE spelling because that's, again, something that you want to just remind people about, so that they don't get misdirected. If people search for Willow Sky, does anybody know what's showing up on the Whatnot search engine? Because if people search for Chicago Dawn, they're going to see makeup shows that are live right now. I'm curious to know if it's pinned you to a certain category, because one of the earlier questions was, does it hurt to have too many different or too much variety? And the short answer is yes, but there are ways to manage that. So you can work with what you have. Okay, so the other thing about the Whatnot profiles is if I don't see that you've got a show scheduled in the future, that makes me doubt if you're even going to come back. So there's two indicators that show me if somebody's actively using or not. One is how recent their reviews are. If it's from a year ago and they don't have any shows scheduled, I assume they're done. They've checked out. So it does help to keep selling, even if you're doing giveaway items, even if you're, just selling lightly and getting an occasional review, it does help a lot. And it also helps to have at least 3 shows scheduled out in advance. I have the easiest way you guys can do that. You can copy it from me. First of all, I have every episode of the Ship Show scheduled for the entire remaining part of the year. And that's been there for months. So all of the future episodes, you never have to miss one. You can just bookmark those. The other shows that I've put out there are for every holiday. I put a show out. Now, I may choose not to do a Halloween show, but that's okay, because as it gets closer, I can always move that to the next year. I can reschedule those shows at any point. And from what I've seen, Whatnot doesn't seem to penalize us. But the last and final show that you guys will ever get to see is the Caribbean Art Show, and that has been rescheduled dozens and dozens of times. So, so make sure that, again, just to make it known that even if you're on summer vacation, that you're not gone for good, keep some future shows out there. And thank you, Willow. I stole that from Tweetcode, TweetKoe. If I didn't spell it, how would you guys have spelled that? I'd love to know in the chat. If I didn't spell Tweetcode the way I just did, how would you spell that? Um, so yeah, make sure you've got some future shows scheduled. Make sure you've got some recent reviews. And another way you can get your reviews up is, does anybody know the secret that I've shown you guys before or that I've used? Because I have a whole YouTube video you can watch on how to get 100% positive feedback. But it was made for a different platform. However, I've looked at it and it would work on any platform, even Whatnot, especially on Whatnot. So saving you the whole video, does anybody know the tip I'm about to tell you if you do want to get 100% positive feedback from your buyers? Everybody is not, they're biting their tongues. You just don't want to give me the answers. Oh my gosh. And hello, Chaos Cards. Welcome in. So, Whatnot makes it easier than other platforms, actually. Candy helps. Yeah, that might be one of the tips. It might be. I'd have to rewatch it. Actually, what I do is I print my profile on the back of packing slips. So, like, assume this is a packing slip. On the back of it, I'll print my profile, and it'll have the positive feedback that others have left. So Whatnot makes that super easy. All you have to do is print one page, and I can show you what it looks like. Hold on one second. I'm still here. Yeah, this one. So this is like what it looks like. You can play around with your printer settings if you need it to be bigger or smaller. But then on this side, it would be the packing slip. And so since I'm going to use this piece of paper anyway, I would rather get some use out of both sides. And another thing about feedback is sometimes people, they want to say something nice. They don't know what to say. So looking at some examples, I think helps people. For example, a little melty on the chocolate, but arrived good, yummy. Fantastic! Yummy melty chocolate. Actually, that was for melted hot cocoa, so I did not panic when I saw it's supposed to be melty. But, you know, just put something in front of your customer to remind them that we rely on their feedback, you know, for others to base their, you know, buying decisions, but also so we know we're doing the right thing, because there's two parts of the sale, and I don't want to get stuck on this. If you guys have other questions, put them in now, please. But the first is the entertainment aspect. So when we're doing our live shows and we're having a lot of fun and we're playing with props and we're demonstrating products, we're giving the customer good value, and that'll you know, that will determine if they're going to swipe us or not. But it's when they actually get that package that it's real, that they really see what they purchased. And so that moment, if you go back looking at past episodes, looking at the experts we've brought on, everything that we've done over the last year plus with the Ship Show has been, that moment should be a very positive experience for the customer. And if you can deliver that, you'll have a customer for a long time. Can't say for life, nothing's guaranteed, but you will have a repeat customer. Don't sing in your live, you learn that? Okay. If you want to sing, Craftowl, CRAFTOWL, does a monthly karaoke, and those can be a lot of fun and hilarious. But yeah, so, and actually, funny, embarrassing story, I did a song, and what happened was I was on two different devices, and the camera switched when I was singing or right before I was singing, so everybody was looking at my dirty floor, and like I'm staring at this device and I'm just belting it out, you know, And it's so funny because everybody else just saw like a dirty floor. But it's still fun. You know, it's in good fun. It's meant to do that. I'll give you a secret on ways that you can rewatch this episode before anything gets put out on YouTube, because before I put it out on YouTube, I do go back, I cut out all the unnecessary stuff, so you don't get the full uninterrupted view. You can send this to a friend. And the way you do that is you go to the Buy It Now, and there's an invitation, and they'll get a printed invitation to the next episode of the Ship Show. You could obviously send it to yourself. I don't I don't know why you would, but you could. You're allowed to do both. But if you want to gift anything to anybody on Whatnot, you only need their Whatnot name. You don't need their address. So that's a way that you can actually, surprise someone, and it doesn't cost that much. It's $1 plus the cost of the postage stamp. But then that does give you access to replays for 60 days. So, and the way you do that is you go into your video receipt, and it'll let you fast forward, rewind to whatever part of the show you want to see. So yeah, we're learning a lot more. Again, I'm getting some of these tips from other sellers who've figured this stuff out. Some of them are doing not exactly the same, but they're explaining to people, if you want to rewatch shows, you have to make a purchase or win something, because Whatnot took off the rewatch video feature. How does everybody feel about that? Good, not so good? I'm an open book on that one. How do people feel about not being able to see past shows? Because that just reminded me of another tip I've got for you guys. You guys, this is like the hour of best tips episode. And not hearing lots of complaints. Yeah. Okay. So for seems unnecessary to take it away. Okay. So one thing I would tell people, and I'm not sure why they're doing this, but I've noticed some people who had past shows activated and clips. This is all in your settings you can change on your phone. So you go down to the bottom, what is that, right-hand corner, and then you'll go into your profile settings. And one of them is, first of all, you definitely want to have receive gifts turned on. The second one is allow people to take clips of your shows and share them. And it helps the person doing the informative lives to be worth their time, but it's still annoying. Okay, I think I get that. I'm not sure. It helps the person doing informative lives to be... Yes. And that's what I did with the Ship Show, is I just left it up for the duration. And when people would private message me, I would just say, go back and watch this date. However, people still private message me, and I can't do that. And then, however, they also come on all the YouTube videos with comments, and I can't point them into Whatnot unless they're already registered. You feel you can support them by buying something? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. The other thing I was going to tell you guys, though, is if you want to enable your clips, that's only going to help you, because that's another way people can preview your show before they come in to buy something. And I know we all have embarrassing moments in our shows, but usually that's not what people decide they're going to clip. And it does set the level of expectation, because if you're expecting me to do a show the same as Willow Sky, you're going to be sadly disappointed. We have different styles. So it's not that one is better than the other. It's that I wouldn't want somebody to imagine that they're going to see her show coming into mine, because it would be like a little bit of kind of a reality mismatch. And different categories have really different pace and formats. So like trading cards, sneakers, Any of those top 4 that you see when you log in and you do your browsing, those go at a much faster pace. They are like, I mean, constant movement, excitement, sounds, lights, all of the above. If you pull back a little bit and you go into some of the other categories, it's not the same. Crafting tends to actually be a little bit slower pace, but also most crafters don't show themselves on camera. They only show their products. So that's really, I'm not going to say difficult, but that takes some getting used to knowing who you're buying from. Because if all you're seeing are, the hands and the products, you don't really know who's behind it. And you don't always have to know, but those videos look alike until you start to pay attention to the background and things like that. Oh, and the number one tip I'm going to give everybody, which on YouTube it's not going to show up as distinctively. Do you see how much room there is above my head? Anybody see how big that is? Yeah. It's like at least 2 feet. And I do have a sign, okay? And I also have the stay home sign, but consistently, in a lot of shows, I don't see people using that headspace. Now, some of them have their cameras angled where it's half ceiling, half wall. You can still get a banner sign or talk to Custom Wood Burning about doing something custom, because that's your best advertising space. Even if people do nothing but swipe past you, they're still getting an advertisement every time they swipe past your show. So if you can get your name up there, that will really help, because otherwise it's in this teeny tiny print that's going to look like everybody else's, and unless you're really, really interested, you're not even going to notice it. Southern Deals, private message me. I would love to get some photos from you or have you show it off on a future episode if you've got one that's being made. Yeah, that's one of the best uses for that blank space, because again, it's part of the screen, but if you don't use it, it's a missed opportunity. And so I think that's something that people can do. And it doesn't have to be 100% super professional. It could be like with marker on just some rolled out paper. Okay, so we are at the end of our time this week. It has been so much fun. And your friend paints them. He's on Whatnot. Paints them. He's not on Whatnot, but he can draw anything. Perfect opportunity to get your friend on Whatnot. Those are easy sales. Easy sales. Okay, so I will see you May 1st. Until the next time I see you, I hope you can stay on the shop. Don't leave, though, because we're going to raid into somebody who I think you're going to enjoy. And let me see if she's still on. Yes, Plus Size Gals. Plus Size Gals we're going to raid into. And she is somebody who does product in hands only, but she consistently sells the entire time she's on. So I think you'll really enjoy watching her. And thank you for coming in with your good information, Southern Deals. Okay, something just went wrong, so I don't know if I got this right or wrong. Okay, we should be right now.
Limited amount of purchases per day. That's how it kind of works. So yeah, I usually prefer to use like a PayPal to go directly into my account. Anyways, welcome in, readers. Whoop, whoop. We're if you guys are in it to win it. Did we get 2 raids, you guys? Stay home. Oh my God, you guys. Bookmark and follow Stay Home Shop. Let me tell you a little bit about Stay Home. He has a 5.0, 476 reviews, 2.6K items sold. And his next show is going to be today at 4 p.m. So make sure you guys go and look at all his. I think he's going to have books, a lot of books. And thank you so much for the rate. I appreciate it. Also, you guys, we got rated by Kelly. So let's go ahead and show you guys the list of people that I'm going to be rating into, and also the conductor. So you guys, welcome to Atelier Artisan Rate